Duma, the journey of a cheetah and a boy. The first light of dawn spread across the African savanna, casting long, dramatic shadows over the dry, golden grass. A pride of lions prowled silently in the distance, their eyes sharp and focused on their prey. Nearby, a lone female cheetah sensed the imminent danger. Her heart raced with fear, and she broke into a desperate sprint. Her paws pounded against the earth as she fled, but the lions, powerful and relentless, were closing in quickly. She pushed herself to run faster, but exhaustion was catching up. Her strength waned, and with one final lunge, the lions captured her, surrounding her with triumphant roars. The savanna fell silent. Hidden among the dense bushes nearby, her tiny cubs trembled, their wide eyes reflecting confusion and terror. They watched, helpless, as their mother disappeared, her life snuffed out by the unforgiving laws of nature. The world, vast and full of threats, seemed even more dangerous and lonely without her. The cubs remained hidden, their instinct telling them to stay still, but fear gnawed at their small hearts. As darkness descended, one of the cubs, driven by instinct and fear, slipped away from its hiding place. The cub wandered aimlessly through the tall grass, eventually stumbling upon a road. The distant glow of headlights appeared, growing closer and brighter. Confused and scared, the cub froze, its tiny body illuminated by the approaching lights. A car screeched to a stop, and out stepped a young boy named Zane, followed by his father. Zane's gaze met the cub's, and in that instant, he felt an inexplicable connection, a bond that transcended words. The cub's eyes were filled with fear, innocence, and a silent plea for help. Ignoring his father's initial caution, Zane moved slowly toward the cub, his hands outstretched in a gesture of peace. The cub, sensing his sincerity, stayed still, too terrified to flee, but somehow reassured by Zane's presence. Zane's father, seeing the vulnerability of the young animal, finally agreed to take it with them, at least for the night, to protect it from the dangers lurking in the dark. They brought the cub back to their home, a small farm nestled at the edge of the savanna. The cub curled up in a corner, its tiny body shaking with fear. Zane, filled with empathy, decided to stay close, offering it food and speaking softly, his voice a gentle whisper in the quiet of the night. Over the following days, a remarkable transformation began. The cub, slowly but surely, began to trust Zane, recognizing the kindness in his eyes and the warmth in his voice. Zane named the cub Duma, a name that meant lightning, inspired by the cub's sleek body and the speed it would one day possess. Duma, sensing Zane's genuine care, started to relax, feeling a sense of belonging for the first time since losing its mother. Zane's father, though initially skeptical about keeping a wild animal, gradually warmed to the little cheetah. Duma brought unexpected joy to their lives, filling their days with playful antics and infectious energy. It was as if the cheetah had brought a new light into their home. Zane's father decided they would care for Duma until it was old enough to survive on its own in the wild. And so, their days passed, filled with moments of happiness and discovery. As the weeks turned into months, Duma began to grow rapidly. Her sleek frame developed muscle, and her movements became more agile, more refined. Zane, fascinated by Duma's natural speed, decided to train her. With the help of a local friend, they devised a unique way to harness Duma's abilities. They would ride a motorcycle, and Duma would chase them across the open fields, her body moving like a streak of lightning, cutting through the tall grass with grace and precision. It was a sight to behold, a young boy and his cheetah racing against the wind, bonded by a shared love of freedom. It became evident to everyone that Duma was no ordinary cheetah. Her speed was unmatched, her instincts sharp. But with her growth came the realization that the time was approaching when they would have to let her go. Zane's father, with a gentle firmness, began to explain to Zane that Duma was not meant for a life of confinement. She belonged to the wild, where she could live freely and fully. Zane, though saddened by the thought, understood. He knew in his heart that Duma deserved a life true to her nature. Before they could make any decisions, however, a sudden and unforeseen tragedy struck their small family. Zane's father fell ill and his health deteriorated rapidly. Despite their best efforts, he passed away within a matter of days, leaving Zane and his mother devastated. The loss hit Zane like a storm, a force that shattered his world. His father had been his anchor, his guide, the man who had taught him so much about life and love, and now he was gone, leaving a void that seemed impossible to fill. Overwhelmed with grief and the heavy burden of managing their home alone, Zane's mother decided that they needed to move to the city. The farm, which had been their sanctuary, would have to be leased out. It was the only way to make ends meet. Zane resisted at first. He didn't want to leave the place that held so many memories. But he also understood that they had little choice. Reluctantly, they packed their belongings and moved to the city, taking Duma with them. In the bustling urban environment, everything felt different. The noise, the crowds, the carcelous activity, all of it was alien to Zane and to Duma. Zane found himself trying to adjust to a new school, new people, and a life that seemed to have little space for a wild animal. Duma, curious and restless, began to show signs of distress. One day, while Zane was at school, Duma managed to slip out of their small apartment, her instincts guiding her to find Zane. Duma wandered the city streets, her keen senses on high alert. She finally reached the school grounds, causing a wave of panic among the students and teachers. Children screamed and ran, while adults tried to contain the situation. Duma, confused by the chaos, began to dart back and forth, her movements agile yet erratic. Zane, hearing the commotion, rushed out, trying to reach Duma, but his teacher held him back. His heart ached, knowing that Duma was scared and alone. Despite the chaos, Duma managed to spot Zane in the crowd. Their eyes met, and in that instant, everything else faded away. They moved towards each other, Zane calling out softly, calming Duma with his voice. But he knew that they couldn't stay. They had to escape before anyone could intervene. With quick thinking, they slipped out of the school grounds and disappeared into the maze of city streets. Zane realized that keeping Duma in the city was impossible. If they were caught, Duma would be taken away, and they would be separated forever. He remembered the plan he and his father had once discussed: to release Duma back into the wild when the time was right. Without hesitation, Zane decided to take matters into his own hands. He wrote a heartfelt letter to his mother, explaining his decision, and then set off with Duma on his father's old motorcycle, heading toward the savannah where Duma belonged. Their journey was filled with challenges. As they rode through the open desert, Zane frequently consulted a map his father had left behind, marked with the location where Duma had been found. The path ahead was long and daunting, but Zane was determined. The sun beat down on them mercilessly, the heat scorching their skin, and yet they pressed on, driven by a shared purpose. After hours of riding, the motorcycle ran out of fuel, leaving them stranded in the middle of nowhere. Undeterred, Zane began to push the motorcycle, his muscles straining with every step. The vast desert seemed endless, stretching out in all directions with no sign of civilization. Eventually, they stumbled upon the wreckage of an old plane, its metal skeleton half buried in the sand. Exhausted and dehydrated, they took shelter inside, their throats parched and their bodies weak. With no food or water in sight, their hope began to wane. Just when it seemed all was lost, a figure appeared on the horizon. A wanderer named Rip, a man with a rugged appearance and a mysterious past, approached them cautiously. Rip, who had been drifting through the desert with no clear direction or purpose, eyed the motorcycle with interest. He saw it as his ticket to escape the desolate landscape, but Zane, sensing his intentions, quickly offered a deal. If Rip helped them reach their destination, he could have the motorcycle. Together, they improvised a sail using an old parachute they found among the plane wreckage. Using the desert winds to their advantage, they rigged the motorcycle into a makeshift sailboat and began their journey across the dunes. Zane's father had once taught him about this technique, and it worked brilliantly. And they travel a very long journey on this bike in the same way. And when the bushes come ahead, they have to leave their bike there out of helplessness. All three of them are very thirsty now. Rip says that I will arrange some water, and he sees the right place and starts digging there. And after digging a very deep pit, the water comes out there. And now they drink this water and quench their thirst. But they are also hungry. And then they see an enemy. Zane wants to teach Dumas the laws of the jungle. He wants to teach him to hunt, so that when he leaves him, he can arrange food for himself. He sends him after the enemy. But Dumas has never hunted before. That's why he can't catch him. But he finds his eggs. He eats them and quenches his hunger. After this, Zane tells Rip on the map where he wants to go. Rip says that the place you want to go is very far from here. Going there means death. Zane says that I am not afraid. Rip tells him that you should be afraid. And after thinking for a while, Rip says to Zane that, okay, I will take you halfway. But after that, I will go my way. And now all three of them start moving forward from here. But when Zane looks at his compass, he sees that they are not going to the west, but to the north. But he doesn't say anything to Rip for now. When they reach ahead, they see some ruins there. And then a helicopter comes in the sky. Actually, this helicopter has come to find Zane. Rip tells him to hide, and all three of them hide inside. The helicopter goes back. They spend the whole night at the same place. And the next morning, when they are leaving from here, Rip sees a small mine of diamonds there, and he goes inside it. Outside, Zane is also leaving with Dumas, because he knows that Rip is not taking them the right way. But before they leave from here, Rip's scream comes from inside, and when Zane goes inside, he sees that he is completely buried in the soil. He removes the soil from his face, but he doesn't take him out of the soil completely, because if he takes him out of the soil completely, he will forcefully take him with him. That's why he takes his hands out of the soil. And he says to Rip that I know that you are taking us to the city, so that you get a reward by returning me. And at the same time, you want to sell Dumas. And now Zane alone takes Dumas to the west from here. They reach the banks of a river, and Zane decides that they will go ahead of the river. That's why he makes a wooden raft. And now both of them sit on this raft. And as soon as they go ahead of the water flowing on the wooden raft, this water turns into a waterfall, and both of them fall. But both of them survive. And now both of them are in a jungle. Both of them are also hungry. There are also many wild buffaloes here, and Dumas tries to hunt them. But he cannot hunt such big buffaloes, because he does not know how to hunt. Those buffaloes chase him away. And here Dumas and Zane separate from each other, although Zane also tries to find him. But he does not find him, because he is trapped in a cage set up by humans. And now it is night here. Zane is looking for Dumas, and then a wild boar chases him to kill him. Zane is running ahead of him, and then his leg gets stuck on something, and he falls down. He becomes unconscious, and when his eyes open at night, Rib is sitting in front of him. He would have taken Dumas out of the cage, and at the same time, he saved Zane's life. The next morning, Zane apologizes to Rib because he had left him there. Zane tells him that you were right. I was thinking how much money I can earn in return for both of you. But now he does not want to do this. He wants to help both of them. He tells him that he left his village, family, and everything, and went to a big city so that he can earn money. But he could not earn money, and he was jailed. And now he never wants to go back to jail. All three of them are hungry here. That's why they try to hunt. But Dumas once again fails to hunt the deer. They say that now they will have to stay hungry here. And then they see that some people have come here to camp. They have a lot of food, and they make a plan. Zane goes to them like a wounded boy, and when he opens his shirt, there is a snake inside his shirt. Seeing the snake, all the people run away from there, and Zane and Rib take all their food and leave from here. They get a boat, and once again they start moving forward with the help of the river. the money that Zane had got in school. He wants to give that money to Rib, but Rib refuses. But by Zane's force, Rib takes that money. Rib also has some diamonds that he got from the diamond mine where he was trapped, and he gives one of them to Zane, so that he can always remember him. Now, after completing the journey of the boat, they start moving towards the west. Rib knows this place, because his village is not very far from here. At night, Rib takes him to a cave. He says that my grandfather used to bring me here, but now people don't come here. Zane tells Rib that his father died a few days ago. He suddenly disappeared forever. Why does this happen? Rib explains to Zane. He says that we are all in the same river. Someone went today, someone tomorrow. We all have to leave this world one day. But the biggest thing is that as long as we are in this world, we do all our work well. Understand your responsibilities. After leaving Duma, you go back to your mum. I will also go back to my village, to my family. I don't know if my family will forgive me or not. And the next morning, they both start moving forward. And when they are moving forward, a lot of tsetse flies attack them. These flies are very dangerous. It sucks the blood of humans. It also eats dead animals. Rib hides Zane from his clothes, but he can't save himself. A lot of flies bite him badly. And now, as the day goes by, Rib's health starts deteriorating. His whole body is swollen. It starts raining here. That's why it's very difficult for him to light a fire. And the money they have. They burn the money and light a fire here. But Zane understands that if he doesn't get help for him, he can't survive. That's why he tells Duma that you have to stay here. And he goes alone to his village. He reaches his village and brings help for him. But Rib's whole face is swollen. That's why no one recognizes him after bringing him to the village. A paste is applied all over Rib's face, which makes a mask. And the next morning when they remove the mask, they see that it is Rib. After this, the whole family of Rib is called here. Rib meets his two children, his wife and his mother. Rib's family is very happy to have Rib back. Rib also meets Zane from his family. When Zane goes out the next morning, Duma is nowhere around. And when he goes far away looking for him, he sees that Duma is with another cheetah. They both are playing together. And after this, they both hunt a deer together. That means Duma belonged here from this place. It is possible that Duma is with someone right now. He is a lost brother of him. And now Zane remembers that thing about his father. When his father told him that Duma belongs to the jungle. And if you want Duma to live his real life, for which he is born, then you have to leave him at his place. Zane has made up his mind to leave Duma at this place. Duma comes to Zane. They both love each other. Actually, this is their final goodbye. After this, Zane meets Rib. And after meeting Rib, he goes straight to his mother. Zane's mother is very happy to see Zane again. She hugs him. And from his whole journey, Zane understands that there are many things in this world that are made for each other, like his wildness for Duma. That means his jungle, his home, his life, his family for Rib, and his father for Zane. Whatever his father thought, whatever he believed in, now he will move forward with Zane in his life. This story is not just about a journey. This story teaches us a lot. It teaches us that we should understand our responsibilities in our life. Like Rib's responsibility was his family, Zane's responsibility was to take Duma to his home. And in this journey, he understood that death is just a time, which has to come into everyone's life sooner or later. For that, we should not be sad or worried. But we should understand our responsibilities. Along with this, he also understood that no matter how much we love someone, but everyone has a right place. Like Duma's right place was the jungle. Rib's right place was his family. And his right place was with his mother, who needed him the most. So this was the whole story of the film Duma. This film was released in 2005. Its rating on IMDb is 7.2. We hope you liked this story.